Hello everybody, Cone Dodger here, and welcome back to Automation. We have a little bit of a special episode today. We have a guest here with us, who is a developer for Automation, and that is Killrob.
Yo, how are you doing, guys?
I am very glad he is here because he's going to show me some of the ways to improve our cars in the Vector Automotive Challenge. We just did an episode where I went through and did some improvements for 1992. And now Killrob's going to help me through one of the cars, show me the way of actually fine-tuning a car. So that is what we're going to do.
That will indeed be a bit of an interesting thing to do. Your combat, I assume we are going to look at?
The combat is the one that is my favorite of the lineup and seems to be everybody's favorite. Now,
so yeah, then let's go ahead.
This will be great for basically everybody because there's a lot of details in this game that don't necessarily egg themselves on to be fine-tuned that I've missed through now 46 episodes.
We are all kind of noobs at the game, but it's always astonishing if you're in the beta and testing all the time, and then you are supposed to be balance testing, and it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of challenging. It's not too hard, and then you get normal people in there who haven't played it like every day for of their lives the last 3 years, and it's completely impossible. But anyway,
let's go ahead and
go on a tangent here.
Let's go ahead and start with an engine.
Engine.
Let's see what we have. We had the good old Z
Killer.
Yes. Because nobody else names their engines anything fun. Why don't we revise that one? Basically a cast iron aluminum head or cast iron block aluminum head engine, kind of my staple.
Yep, and you're going over square as per usual, I think that's I think that's very fitting for a sporty car, or in this case, it's almost a sports car, wouldn't you say that?
I would say this is as sports car as you could get for early 90s.
And wouldn't Mr. Cone Dodger say that a sports car should have an as even weight distribution as possible?
Mr. Cone Dodger might not, but the general public might. Mr. Cone Dodger likes his big, heavy, front-engined iron block cars.
Yeah, I've noticed. But anyway, so you gain two things. You don't add much cost here if you go for aluminium, but in 92 you still gain quite a bit of MTBF or reliability if you go for equal block and head material. So I would say that for this one, for the combat, it's definitely worth going for aluminium here. So let's say Vector Automotive has just found out about this astonishing new concept of having
from
aluminium
20 years
blocks.
ago.
Yes, exactly. And now an interesting thing here is you actually are using a weird combination of conrods and pistons.
Indeed, that is true.
So what you want to do here is find something which has this engine wants to rev, right? Because you're over square.
Right.
So what you want to do is to find conrods and pistons which have the same rating for RPM, because torque won't matter in this case. So if you just go and choose your conrods, I would say I-beam steel and forged, I think, have the same rating for RPM.
They are high and indeed high. Versus before we were at average and high.
Yes.
So
now they are properly balanced, and we should get a better MTBF and revving performance out of them. So let's continue here.
Top end, we have a dual overhead cam setup with 4 valves, which is pretty standard.
It's pretty standard and pretty sporty, I would say. There's no reason to change that. Also, I'm seeing that you are using a 55 cam profile, which I would say is a very reasonable cam profile for a sporty/sports car.
Okay, I was interested in that.
It has a lot of middle still. You don't have to rev it to the moon in order to get anything out of it, like you would with 70 to 80 or even higher. The compression ratio is probably fine. What I would like to do is later up the ignition timing a bit, because you seem to be going a bit low on those. If we can take a look at the fuel system for a bit quickly here.
This one's a little bit strange. It's actually
oh,
up to 70.
this one is set properly. Yes, 70. So let's up it to 80, which is a really good rating for a sports car.
Fumbling with the sliders as always.
Yep. Adding ignition timing is a good way to add responsiveness. And now for the fuel mixture, we are using multi-point, and this is a sports car with a performance intake. So with MPFI, you would definitely want to go to 12.5 fuel mixture here.
Okay. Which to me before I would think would be too rich, but I didn't really know why I thought it was that way.
Yeah. Just when you try everything out, you would find that 12.5 is the first mix, which is still good.
Okay.
It's very rich, but it's not.
It's worth noting we are using premium unleaded as well, so you have 90.3.
So 90. Yes. Okay. So now we are aiming for 90. We do have added ignition timing and fuel mixture, so those should cancel out easily without changing compression. So we should be good there.
And I think we had a little wiggle room to begin with that too. So.
Yes, and before we continue on, the 6,900 RPM limit.
Mm-hmm.
That shouldn't be any trouble anymore, but that is electronically limited, so we can change it after the test, right?
Yes, we can change that after.
Okay, then before we move on, though, there's another thing. You like reliable cars, right? So, and your combat, you don't want to see it break down and burn like Alphas or something.
Or the current NSX.
Ferraris, yes. Yeah. True. So, in this version of automation you're using currently, it's still very advantageous to add a bit of fuel system quality. So we should go to like maybe +3, +4. It doesn't add much costs.
Okay.
If you click on MPFI, again you see the costs for the system, and then when you change around, you can live update the cost, and you see it basically adds nothing.
That was something I did not realize before, is that when you change the quality here, it does change the stats right here, so you can see kind of what you're doing. So
that's helpful, yep.
We're going from $240 to $250. Woohoo!
But we probably add something like 5% reliability.
Right.
For $10.
Yep.
Which is pretty good.
Very important. Yeah.
Yep. So that's definitely worth it. I have to mention that will change. This progression will change in the next big update, which is coming very soon.
It's on the horizon. Remember, we can see it on the horizon. We just don't know which planet we're on.
Exactly. All right, exhaust then. Let's see. I think you're pretty well set up there.
We went for a pretty
tubular headers.
Pretty sporty tubular.
Yep, definitely.
We have 2.75, which is good for 320 horsepower, which is
definitely good.
The high flow, I don't think we probably have high flows just yet.
No, that's fine. I don't think you need them here yet.
And the two straight throughs
so if you want to have the combat a bit more sporty, I would almost say like go for a single straight through.
Okay. Now, does it matter first or second? Does that have any effect on it at all?
No, that doesn't have any effect right now. So just go for whichever you like.
We'll go for the good old fart can right in the back.
So that you can cut it off if it annoys you too much. All right.
We're thinking of the future.
So yeah, definitely. Oh, okay, yeah. So let's do a test run.
Okay. Now, for the sake of this little special here, I'm going to ease up on our restrictions, just so we can learn. Usually, we would only be able to do this twice.
I don't think we need more than that, though. So
hopefully, that would be nice. I noticed a little bit of a bumpy power line there.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. You have a bumpy torque curve as well. So that's the torque curve you have selected with your cam profile. So it's pretty good. You have a strong middle. So if you are racing and you don't have your gear ratios set to very sporty, like very close, then you still have very good acceleration across the gears.
Right.
So that's a positive, I would say, for a normal-ish car. And a big thing I noticed right here, I think I remember you set the exhaust to 320.
Right.
It's definitely too much for the system.
Too much.
So
aimed too high.
Yep, you were aiming too high. And So let's go and change that one to something like 273 is perfect there.
Okay. So that would be a 2.5, which sounds right for a
So
roughly 3 liter.
Did you have anything else you wanted to change?
I noticed that we have a little bit of fuel octane left. We're at 88.6.
Oh yeah. So then I would say, for the sake of the challenge, we don't want to change compression because that would be changing the pistons, right?
Right.
So we can up the ignition timing by, let's say 5.
Okay.
That should give us about-ish 1 octane. And then we are still on the safe side, right? So, and now let's see what the engine does. You should see a slightly different behavior because of the exhaust.
Well, I can't remember exactly, but that seems a little later. Let's see. Yep, it is indeed 100 RPM later that we get peak power.
Yep. And we have more torque.
More torque, for sure.
In the middle as well.
This is what I would call the drivable range. This is what you would be using.
Yeah,
street.
Exactly. So that also affects economy quite significantly. If you're just going too open with your exhaust system, then you have no kind of resonances at lower RPM. So you're losing quite a bit of economy there for naturally aspirated. So it's worth keeping it quite shut, but not limiting.
Right. Now, the MTBF here is at 62,000 kilometers. It's my understanding this kilometers and mileage kind of system is going away.
Oh, yes, it is. We are going to a more understandable format, which is reliability, which goes just as loudness and responsiveness about-ish between 0 and 100.
Gotcha. That sounds much easier to understand.
It is. So, yeah. So, all right, I think we are satisfied with this one.
Okay. Save it, and we will choose it. That's the Killrob special. Okay, so now we've got some gearing to work through.
Indeed, we have. All right, so this is, let's say, rear-wheel drive. Okay,
yep.
250 horsepower. So what we want to do here is a neat little trick in order to get more sportiness out of it. The sportiness rating, a base value in the sportiness rating is calculated from the 0 to 100 kilometers an hour time, which is 0 to 62 miles per hour. So if you are using a standard manual gearbox, shifting time is significant. So what you want to do here is to cheat a bit and get your second gear just above 62 miles an hour so that you can accelerate in second gear to reach the mark and get a lower 0 to 100 kilometers an hour time.
So we're actually at a point where that would be pretty easy to do, because we're going to say 62 is right about here-ish. And that's not too long of a first gear. It's not undrivable. It's a little bit long. So that would be roughly 62.
Yep. And also, but first
we've
of all,
got to work on our top speed. Yeah.
First the top speed. Yes, indeed. So up this one, we do have our peak power not at the peak RPM. So what we want to have is to reach top speed, the estimated top speed, slightly before.
So rather than right on, slightly after,
beyond. Yes, exactly. Where we have maximum power.
Interesting. Okay. So here, our engine's at peak power, right at where the estimated drag coefficient would slow the car down, or stop our acceleration. Is that how I'm reading it correctly?
Yes, exactly. Okay. So now you have to reset the spacing to something more...
that's a little bit more reasonable.
Exactly.
You won't have to burn up your clutch every time you try and get off a red light.
No, that would be good. Like, clutch released at 62 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Doesn't go too well. Anyway, I think this is very much on the safe side. You're like at 70 even. I would do it even a bit shorter there.
Okay. Looking good?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just continue on there.
Alrighty.
I think that's good.
On to some wheels where we didn't quite give sports compound roads on there, but went for medium.
Yeah, I think we should give the sports compound a
compound.
go there. The thing is, sports compound, like now I have more information than you, of course. Sports compound is still a reasonable compound. It's not super sporty, which you have to like change twice a season.
Right. It's not it's not a 140 tread wear tire. That's kind of a cheater racing tire.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It's not that. So one thing though, you have a rear-wheel drive car, and you have equal tire widths. Why?
It sounds normal to me, but apparently it doesn't sound normal to you.
No, not for a sports car, definitely. So I would go to 265s here if you can.
Okay. Just in the back or up in the front? We can only go up to. Oh, we can. Okay.
No, that's fine, but we don't want to. Like 235s in the front is perfect, I would say. So what this does is, first of all, it gives you less wheel spin, which increases tameness, which your cars suffer from, right?
Right.
Lack of tameness.
They're getting a bad reputation now.
yeah, exactly. Oh, I will shut up. But also, you do get a bit more understeer behavior when you're not on power, which gives you even more tameness. So that's a doubled up effect. You basically, by making the tires wider, you gain cornering accelerations, like lateral acceleration performance, cornering performance in general. Through the sports compound, you up that even more, which gives you higher sportiness and higher tameness. And now you have a better balance, which is a tamer, more drivable car. So you get even higher tameness values on top of that without sacrificing much sportiness from that change. So you should be about-ish the same in sportiness, but hugely higher in tameness.
Okay, great. We have a 40 profile and a 35 now, which I think is a little small.
That is true.
Especially for 92. That would be pretty uncommon.
Oh, yeah. So let's up the wheel diameter a bit.
Say 45 and a 40 would be a little bit more comfortable.
If it's possible. Maybe it just goes to 620? Yep.
That is where it is.
Okay, so 45 and 40 we do have now. Yep. And that's definitely a bit more reasonable there. Otherwise, you could drop down your tire widths by 10 mils each, if you want to keep the same balance, but still have a bit more comfortable ride. But I think this car is more about performance than it is about comfort. So let's go with this one.
Well, with that big, mean-looking face, it better have some performance behind it.
Oh, definitely. Yep.
Okay, so moving on to braking.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, oh no, you have to choose the rim offset, but no. You can't.
I click it every time, thinking maybe, no.
Because a wider stance on the front would be interesting there.
Right.
But anyway,
it would definitely fill out that fender better as well.
Oh yeah. So here we do have some interesting aspects as well. I would say you are already a bit bigger on the brakes, but definitely not filling the rims. So how much could you fit in there? Just for trying it out. I think it's 325, right?
325.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't think we need 325s. That's a bit overkill. But 275?
Okay. 275. Yep, again with the sliders. Yep, they're my natural enemy.
Yep. And now you are also... you did put the engine in the front.
Yep.
So you will have more weight on the front. So the front brake disc should be, of course, bigger than the rear.
Right.
So you have during the rear 235s, but I would up them to 250 to be a bit less prone to brake fading for a sports car.
Especially so you want since we do only have a limited amount of cooling available, so we might not be able to afford some brake cooling.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yes, and also I wouldn't give it brake cooling because that's not normal for street cars.
Interesting.
Like for lower end street cars.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen a street car with brake ducts on it, but
no, exactly. So what this will mean for not even the next update, but for the Tycoon part is, as soon as you choose brake airflow, a positive brake airflow, non-zero brake airflow, you will incur pretty large engineering costs.
Yes.
So
that would make sense.
Yeah, that will be balanced through that, because it doesn't cost you any extra material or stuff,
right?
much,
As of
but
right now, it's just, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Right now it's cheating. But you are having a sports car here. So why are your pad types in the middle, like run-of-the-mill brake?
Because red looks dangerous.
And red looks dangerous, but also it looks fun. So I think we should go to 3/4 here.
Okay.
That means, so basically what this, bad slider description, i.e. none, what this slider does is how aggressive the brake pads are working. So if you go all the way to the top, you get more sportiness,
Right.
but less stiffness and less comfort.
Ah.
So this is a sports car, so we want to go to about 3/4, I would say. A pure race car would go all the way up.
Right. Which this is not. 250 horsepower is not exactly pure sports car.
Nope.
Or race car.
Now one additional thing which we can take a look at would be maybe choosing 2 pistons in the front.
That seems reasonable. I've come across some early 90s vehicles with 2 pistons in the front. Maybe not the
definitely.
back. And we probably don't need them in the back without any weight back there. In the back.
Exactly. For a mid-engine car, you would probably do this the other way around. Or, well, not always, but anyway.
Yeah, as the owner of a first-gen MR2, I'm going to say no.
Yep. All right. Sports car here. You do have a rear wing on, I see, and you do not have a lip, right?
We do not have a lip. The wing was meant purely for aesthetics.
All right, then let's keep the aero inclination as is. But this car should go fast, and cars don't like wind. So what we want to do here is to clad it a bit on the bottom. And this is basically not really expensive because the material cost is low. It doesn't cost your engineers much to bolt it there. And if you don't use it for downforce, it won't incur any significant engineering costs either because you're just smoothing the surface. So what we're looking at here is basically, well, you can see this if you go for fully clad, which I would choose here, not downforce because that's expensive engineering stuff. But if we go for fully clad here and compare it to none and look at the total surface, we drop like 50 centimeters there.
Right.
60 even. And that is a huge difference. That's 10% drag. I mean, that's huge for 1 man hour and like $100.
And especially for a car with as little power as this, you want it to be as aero efficient as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
I do need to increase cooling real quick. Yeah, we got that.
Yep, let's do that. All right, so let's continue on. Interior, I mean, that's all themed, so
that's
we're not changing anything here.
Yeah.
Sound insulation, I would say yes. You only have a straight-through muffler on here.
Right.
So that means that the car is reasonably loud. Or pretty loud, even.
Yes.
So I wouldn't choose sound insulation all the way down. A middle selection is really good there, I would say. Just as extra.
Just enough to give you that little bit of a hint of a headache on the highway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The sound insulation actually adds to, like, how much your car sounds, adds to sportiness, and it adds to comfort a lot.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
Yep. So that is in. So you should really be careful with this slider as well. It can really destroy your comfort completely by opening it up. So anyway, but I think we are doing fine here. So let's move on to the scary part.
The scary part.
The scary part is not that scary if we first go to the testing tab.
Okay, we will do that. And
because the thing here is, oh, it's all green. We like this.
Green is good.
So, oh wow, look at the top speed.
Yes, that's
Is this real? No, no. Oh, this was the previous car, right? From before. So yeah. That's your crappy cheapo car comparison. Okay.
Are you
yeah,
sure?
it is.
Okay,
It's
I'm looking at my other screen.
That would be insane.
Nope, you are actually going to be blown away. I have this open on the other screen. The Vector Combat's first top speed was 141.8.
Are you kidding me? Cone Dodger, what the fuck are you doing?
We can't go that fast in America. You kidding me?
Okay, now we tuned it for Europe. Yes. for Autobahn. Oh, also, well, look at the cornering as well, and your braking performance. Cone Dodger. your braking performance. That's like super sports car performance now.
Yeah.
In comparison. Yeah, that's not bad. That will give you a huge tameness bonus as well. That's pretty big.
So
but okay, we're not here for that. We are not finished yet, right?
Not just yet.
No. We look at the total weight. We see, okay, that's 2,600, and that's decent-ish, middle ground. Mm-hmm. So let's head back to, let's see, we have, nice, 52 to 48.
Which is not terrible.
Okay. It's not terrible at all. So what this means for the suspension now, that's why we're here, is that we want to put a bit more spring stiffness on the front if we want to have a base which is balanced.
Which I actually had the intuition of doing that.
You had? Yes, yeah, this is looking really good. So what we want to do now is to probably up the damper stiffness in the rear a bit to match that, like...
So it doesn't make sense to have more dampening in the front to compensate for that more weight in the front. It doesn't work that way.
So as a rule of thumb, I would say you want to have the spring stiffness divided by 10 on the damper stiffness.
Okay.
But a bit more balanced between them. So let's go to 3,000 there.
So yeah, 3,000 front and back should be good.
Yep. So now we have a pretty good baseline here. We could probably increase spring stiffness, but you want to retain a bit of driving comfort. So we don't want to go over the top here. But what we want to do now is to go to the testing track and look at the yaw rate graph.
The yaw rate. So a good bit of understeer, which is what we want, but it's pretty early, is it not?
That is looking pretty good. Okay. So basically, what you cannot know here is where the optimum is for optimal tameness and where the optimum is for optimal sportiness.
Right.
And if you want to have a maximum sportiness car, you want to have a neutral car.
Mm.
That would mean that it should be on the blue line.
Right.
We don't want to have this one to be a race car, and we don't want to be a granny car. So we want to be above the imaginary optimal tameness line, and we want to be below the blue line. And we actually currently are. But what we are missing right now is, let's see, maximum roll angle. I'm not convinced that this is good enough for a sports car. So head back into suspension.
Okay.
What we want to do now is to increase general performance. So we up camber for front and rear equally, because we were satisfied, like up, I mean more negative.
Right.
So we probably want to go to, let's keep it moderate, like minus 1.2.
Okay.
For both. Oh, you had 2 more on the front, right?
On the front.
Right. So then let's continue this trend. So minus 1 in the rear and minus 1.2 there.
Okay.
And now we want to increase the sway bar stiffness to both 2,000.
Okay, so the sway bar stiffness is something that is a complete mystery to me. So if you could kind of explain that value a little.
So basically, this value affects how much your car will roll when cornering. So how much it will lean to one side or the other when cornering. And so basically, a sports car shouldn't feel like a boat, right?
We already have one of those.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So what the sway bar stiffness will do is like stop your car from continuing to roll, which can be a bit rough in the field. So weight transfer will be very sudden at the brake point.
Right.
And that's a bit uncomfortable, but it's good for sporty driving.
Right. Gives you that turn-in feel.
Yeah, exactly. So also your ride height, we could probably, now that we have stiffened the dampers slightly, I would go down slightly.
We'll call that slightly?
Yeah, I call that slightly. That would be good. Okay, so now let's take a look at the yaw rate once more, just to be sure.
Yeah, staying a little bit closer to the line, it looks like.
And you see your cornering has improved pretty well for this change.
Yep. Roll angle actually did not.
Oh, roll angle changed by 1 degree.
Oh, it did. Okay, yep.
So that's
3 and 4. They are not the same number.
No, not quite. So basically a 20% gain there towards sportiness. All right, I think we are done here. Our task is complete. So now Cone Dodger, would you please guide us through the comparison of before after?
All right, we'll do these things. Let's see. Let's go to the detailed stats because we can see everything. Tameness. We are now at 31.7. We were previously at 24. So that's a pretty significant increase. What would you say was the biggest reason for that?
The biggest reason is probably the wheels that we. Oh, all right, that reminds me. One more thing we should do before wrapping up, and this nicely shows now also what difference it will make. For sports cars, you definitely should consider giving your tires a hint of quality, and your brakes as well, because this affects all the car stats in a very positive way, especially your driving stats. So we should try to give the wheels +2 and the brakes +2. Let's see what happens. Usually for costs, that means like for a 6,000, 7,000 total cost car, that would mean like $200 extra on top of that. And if we now compare before after, which we have here, braking has improved, weight has improved.
Yep, everything is improved.
And you can see here, this is a significant improve for the stats as well, like especially tameness and sportiness. So yeah, let's
for virtually no cost. Now we don't have the cost to look at just yet in this version, but in the future, that would have been a very, like you were saying, a very minor increase in cost for a pretty good.
For a sports car, definitely.
Right.
Yes.
So continuing, now we have 32.2 on tameness versus 24. 27.6 versus 17.3 on sportiness.
That is huge.
That's a lifesaver right there. That would definitely have won us the challenge. Comfort dropped slightly, 19.3 versus 21.4. Still very workable. Prestige is up to 22.5 from 21, and safety 23.6 versus a 23.7. So basically nothing
that
there.
Sounds like a good deal, I would say.
And I'm noticing that the values are all much more even, like across the board.
Oh yeah, yep. That is a balanced car we have built now. It is reasonable in all aspects for what it should do. Then you are expecting reasonably balanced car stats as well.
Right. For a unreasonable price. No.
Fortunately not. Well, currently it is unreasonable because it's 0, right?
Right, yeah, it's very unreasonable.
You take that.
Yeah.
I think even your listeners would want to drive one of these. Now, especially now that it's not killing them anymore.
Well, I mean, you do kind of lose some of the appeal there. I mean, you got the kind of, you want that car that's scary and intimidating to drive, don't you?
Yeah.
If you're a little crazy.
Maybe not as a daily driver though.
Maybe not.
No. Anyway, so I think you had another car to compare the previous to the new version to,
right.
And that.
But don't let me not save this one because I am good with that.
Oh yeah, right. I would have missed that now. Come on, you remember all of these settings.
Oh right. At least I have video to remember. Okay, so we previously did the Cigaro, which I still have not decided how to say, but we had the, let's revise it so we can pull up the stats. And just go back and choose the Killrob special. Oh, that was the platform, not the model. Okay, so if we go to the detail stats, we can see a lot of green. We did basically the same kind of things to this car. A lot of the same adjustments we just did on the Combat, we also did here to the Cigaro, but to a different kind of degree because this is set up as a cheap, easy to drive, but a little sporty car. So 47.6 to a 34, 5.1 to a 5.3, virtually no change. Slight increase in comfort, prestige, and safety stayed the same. So the tameness, as I mentioned before, this company was starting to get a bad reputation as having non-tame, scary cars. But I think a little guidance from Killrob has helped us. Or what did you call yourself? The engineer?
What kind of engineer? Well,
you said we needed to hire some kind of engineer on one of the previous.
Oh yeah, I did. like a suspension engineer or
Suspension
something.
engineer, yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Which-
Yeah, suspension does quite a bit of difference here, but I think there was more than just suspension in those. Yeah.
Yeah, there was honestly there was probably more changes to this one than there was the combat. That's probably a little bit off of my just personal knowledge of cars. I have always kind of dealt with the sportier cars in life. I've not really ever had much interest in the boring family sedans, so I didn't know exactly how to set one up.
So yeah, but this one looks definitely better. You gained on basically everything.
Basically everything.
And sportiness stayed the same while increasing economy and top speed even.
Yeah, top speed, yeah, no?
Yeah, it's more top speed, better acceleration.
You know, you really want to make
of
sure
things.
you're going into that felony range if you need a top speed. You don't want to be just getting pulled over.
Exactly. Definitely. All right. I think that wraps us up, doesn't it?
I think it does, and thank you very much. I'm sure, I know if I was watching this video, I would have been very interested, because I have always kind of wondered about a lot of these values that aren't necessarily laid out perfectly in the game yet, because it's not done. That stuff's not...
Exactly.
That stuff hasn't been finished yet. In the
Also,
future,
yeah, you should be expecting that every value you see in the game will be explained by a tooltip at some point before completion of the game.
Right.
So, yeah.
that will be huge for a lot of people. But this, at least for you people out there that are like me, that just can't put the early demos here down, that you guys did not think we would be playing this much. It helps us out in kind of building cars that are a little bit more sensible.
And also, next bigger update will be much easier to set up cars properly, because you have the suspension easy mode with the presets, and they are working reasonably well. Like you hit your comfort button and you are pretty close to an optimal comfort setting. So it doesn't take away all the work,
Right.
especially for more niche cars.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to fine tune, you can still squeeze out stuff out of them, so it doesn't kill the fun. But it gets normal people who are not like living automation yet,
Right.
gets them to a very reasonable standard. So you would have had basically maybe 2 or 3 points lower than what we achieved now from the start with your setup already.
Right.
So but yeah,
That's great. That will make everything much easier, but more, well, not just easier, but more obtainable. Like you can get a
definitely.
car to be competitive without sitting there and trying to pinpoint all of these suspension settings.
Yes, the skill ceiling remains at the same point, but the entry level has been increased.
Right.
So
Great. Well, thank you very much for joining me here. That was
you're welcome.
a great lesson. I don't think I even had to break out the Killrob sensor button, but one time. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good. So no more swearing here. No.
We're a family channel now.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be honest. This game has brought me to the point of needing to use the button in the past, so it's understandable.
All right, guys. See you guys next time.
Yep. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to hopefully some more knowledgeable Cone Dodger automation videos in the future.